Hello my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like plants, you're in the right place. Now today, I wanted to kind of film an update on where my plants are at and my plant related things are at, just because Christmas came along and a few things have changed. And also in general too, it's winter time, so some plants are doing really well, kind of surprisingly well, and other plants are struggling a little bit. And I just wanted to give you an honest look at my collection just to see how things are going. I did get a plant shelf situation for Christmas, so I'm really excited to set it up and just show you guys. I did assemble it already, and it is a little bit smaller than I expected it to be. There's a cat hair in my mouth. There's a fungus gnat. Anyways, I did assemble the plant shelf. It will only fit a few plants, and specifically shorter plants or trailing plants. So I do have to be a bit more selective of the plants that I put on there. So it was just a little bit like, I wish that it were just slightly bigger. But I still really like it, and I think that it'll look really nice in this space. And honestly, right now, it's gonna go in my bedroom, and I have my humidifier in there, and over the course of the winter, I've just kind of clustered a ton of plants around the humidifier that ended up needing it, and it was so chaotic. I just had a ton of plants on the floor, and I just desperately needed to have a place to put them. So yeah, why don't you just come along with me? Let's set it up, and then after that, it may have to be later this week, but after that, I'll take you around my home just to take a look at my collection and how it's doing. Hello, it has been about, I want to say, a week since I last saw you guys. So yeah, it's been kind of a crazy week for us. Now I finally had a little bit of time to show you around and give you these winter updates. Now it is very gloomy and rainy outside, and it's getting later, so the sun's going to set soon. Just for the sake of having somewhat decent lighting, I might have to consider, showing you some things now and maybe some other things tomorrow. So just giving you a heads up there, just in case that ends up happening. But I figured I would just go ahead and show you where the plants are at. Now, to reiterate, some of these plants are really thriving, which I'm super impressed by considering it's winter, but there are some things that happen. For example, and I'll point this out with each plant where this is the case, but my heater went out, maybe like a month ago. It went out for a couple of weeks, and a lot of my plants were really unhappy and shocked by that shift. The majority of my plants pulled through just fine and were hardy enough to deal with it, but there were quite a few plants that were kind of already stressed out for one reason or another, and they just declined quite a bit. So I'll tell you about those. So yeah, let's go ahead and go around. There's a pretty big range. Some are thriving, some are less than thriving, and there's everything in between. So let's see what's going on. I'll go ahead and start with this lovely little corner here with my Monstera Peru. As you can see, she's growing just fine. She really is enjoying this moss pole. I think since I've attached her to the pole, we've had these 3 leaves come out. And this is the newest one, although this one is taking a lot longer than the other ones, and I suspect that is from the lack of light, just because it's wintertime. We've had a lot of gloomy days, and even though this is normally one of the brightest rooms in my house with like a west-facing window and a south-facing window in a very small space, you know, the days are a lot shorter. It tends to be more overcast right now. So this leaf is taking a lot more time just because she's not getting as much energy as she had for these other leaves, comparatively speaking. So still growing, still doing great, still stable, but definitely slowing down a bit. I have considered bringing in a grow light because I've noticed a similar phenomenon with my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma here. Again, I mean, there's new leaves, but the leaves are not quite as large as they were. Like if you look over here and over here, and even down here, I mean, look at this leaf. This was from maybe in August or so, pushing out some very large leaves. And, you know, I've noticed that the leaves are getting just a little bit smaller, just due to the lack of light, I think, for the most part. And then here we've got one of my 3 Monstera deliciosas, and this one is a very beautiful specimen, but I will say I think that she is in need of a repot because I picked her up and I saw a lot of roots coming through the bottom. Here, let me see if there's a good way to show you. I don't think I can pick her up with just one hand, so you may have to take my word for it, or maybe I can. Okay. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can get a good look at that, but it's starting to just wrap around that bottom there. Oof. And I have noticed that she hasn't put out a new leaf in a really long time, which she should be getting enough light and enough water for that to be the case. I think that she's getting root bound, so I'm gonna need to repot her pretty soon here. Over here is just a little corner with some miscellaneous plants. My domino peace lily is absolutely thriving right now for some reason. She's putting out a ton of new growth. Like, I don't even know how many new leaves there are. There's like, maybe like 4 or 5 all coming out right now. Of course, there's the mutant leaf right there. But yeah, like look at this leaf right here. Look at how much white is on that. I'm really excited to see how that looks. So she's doing great, although my syngoniums that are down here had a case of root rot. So this one and this one. And I went in there and there were some roots that were salvageable, so I went ahead and just repotted it. I'm not terribly attached to them. It's kind of sad to see them declining, but I have noticed that every time I keep syngoniums in this room in particular, they tend to decline. So I don't know if that's because I'm not in here as often, so not paying as much attention to them and not watering them enough, or if it's just too much light, that's direct light maybe, or it's too dry. I'm not entirely sure, but they don't seem to love it in here. But at the same time, I don't really have a better spot for them, so I might have to pass them along or just kind of let them die. I mean, that's horrible. And I'm still taking care of them, but I'm not incredibly attached to them, you know? So we'll have to see how they do once the winter is over. And then right here, we've just got this Tradescantia albiflora rainbow, or Tradescantia tricolor, I think is another name for it. And she's getting a bit leggy and bald, but that sort of happens with Tradescantia. I think she's still pretty cute, but I think for a time, I think I just missed a few waterings, and that, you know, the roots on these guys are so fine that if you do that, they get pretty unhappy with you. So yeah. And right here is my lovely Alocasia Black Velvet. She's still doing fine, still stable, and this new leaf is coming in and absolutely gorgeous. I don't want to bother it too much, but she's doing great. and then my best friend got me these little propagation tubes for Christmas. I haven't put anything in them yet, but they're pretty cute, so I just need to find a good spot for them, but they're just here for now. And then right here is my Philodendron Mia. Oh my goodness, she has exploded with growth. There was one leaf that got like new leaf down there. I don't know how well you can see it, but it did get knocked off, but it has another new leaf coming in. And yeah, she is significantly larger than she was when I first got her already. And I got her like maybe back in the fall. So it was still, I mean, she's been growing a lot through the winter is what I'm saying. So I'm very proud of her. Absolutely exploding with growth, a super prolific gal. Up here I've got my String of Hearts Silver Glory. So this gal has seen better days. She is one of the plants that seems to react really poorly to the shift in temperature. And on top of that, I think that I haven't been watering her as much as I should, because I was so afraid of rotting her that I maybe waited a bit too long between waterings. So several of her little vines just shriveled up and the hearts died off and fell off, and I was so sad about that. But we'll see, she's still hanging on. She still has some new growth coming in, and I'm working on her. So we'll see. I might try to get another one and then just try to redeem myself as I'm learning more about how to care for String of Hearts, because I've always been very tentative and afraid of these sorts of plants, admittedly. But it's because they're so easy to mess up, I feel like. Once you figure them out, I'm sure they're a lot easier. Also, I think she went into shock after I repotted her because I was an idiot and I forgot to water her after repotting her. And so that was another thing that I think caused major issues. So yeah, still a beautiful plant, still alive, but she did lose several of her strands. So we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of upset with myself, but we'll see how it goes. Over here, I'll just give you a little look at my succulents. I really, truly don't pay any attention to these guys. They're just in this south-facing windowsill right here. And I just threw a bunch of succulent leaves in here and I'm letting them do their thing. But they're doing surprisingly well, just from me ignoring them. This is certainly not an ideal environment for them either, but I'm just working with it, and I don't care abundantly about them, but at the same time I'm happy to see that they're doing pretty well. And then over here is my Ficus elastica taniki, I believe, and look at that new leaf coming in. I'm excited for that. And then, oh, here's my variegated String of Hearts. She's doing far, far better than my Silver Glory, but I also haven't repotted her yet. And I've been very careful to water her appropriately, I think. So yeah, she's still hanging in there, growing totally fine. Okay, so this is kind of the primary plant section in my bedroom. There are a few other places, but this is pretty much it. And I guess I'll go ahead and start with this beast of a monstera. Now, the last time I showed you guys this plant, it was just splayed all over, very floppy, but since then I added a bunch of these taller bamboo stakes and secured them with plant Velcro. So this guy as a whole is just much more contained and held up and supported. And also, you know, he was kind of a rehab plant and had a lot of mechanical damage, but ever since I added this grow light up here in my plant chores video from maybe a couple months back, he has put out 2 new leaves. So first he came out with this beautiful leaf, and then this is the newest leaf that has come out and hasn't even quite hardened off yet. So yeah, he's doing wonderfully, and really he needed more light. Particularly, this is a north facing window right here, so you know, it gets by, it does the job over the summertime, but in the winter it's just not enough light. So that's why I added the grow light to the situation, and now these plants are a lot happier. So far, this plant shelf here that I just put up has been doing just fine this week. Thankfully, my cats haven't knocked it over or anything like that, which I was kind of nervous about, but in general, the plants seem to be fine, and they're getting enough light because of the way that it's staggered, and then also with the window there. So, you know, I'm keeping an eye on them, and they seem to be doing just fine. Up here is my philodendron mame. So I'll pull it off just to give you a better look. But yeah, so when I got this guy, this leaf right here was just coming in, just kind of a leaf spike, so to speak. It hadn't even unfurled at all yet, but since then it has unfurled, and it is absolutely beautiful. And down here, as you can see, there's another leaf coming up, another little growth point. So he's doing just fine, no complications. So far, a very easygoing plant. And then, this is very exciting. So if you guys saw my propagations update video, you would know that this philodendron dark lord cutting that I had was not doing anything. In fact, it had lost a leaf because my cats knocked it off, and it recently lost yet another leaf because my cats knocked off another leaf. How they managed to do that, I don't know. But honestly, the fact that the leaves got knocked off might have been a good thing, because pretty soon after that, I think that it had enough energy to put towards new roots. So it's got a whole bunch of roots coming in. They are beautiful, and I'm very excited. He's perked up quite a bit. He was kind of folding in because he didn't have a way to get any nutrients or water or anything like that, but he's doing much better. And that new leaf right there, I mean, we'll see if it does anything. It's had that from the beginning, so obviously it's been through kind of a lot of trauma, I feel like. But yeah, I will admit, I mean, I purchased this cutting as a Dark Lord cutting, but I've definitely had my doubts as to whether or not it is actually a Dark Lord. It's kind of hard to tell when you don't have a whole plant and it's more of an immature form of it. So I don't know, you can share your thoughts if you think it's some other kind of philodendron erubescens or something like that, or red emerald or something. I mean, this stem is pretty dark to be a red emerald in my opinion. And this leaf, which was the newest one previously, I mean, it was pretty dark when I got it, and it's just starting to like lighten up a bit. So I don't know, you'll have to let me know what you think, especially if you happen to have a philodendron Dark Lord. Then this is my Monstera siltepecana. I purchased these and they wound up with root rot a few days later, which sucks, but whatever. At least they root very readily. These roots have almost reached the bottom of this bottle actually. So they're doing quite well. I'm waiting to pot them up. I also have some of these cuttings in sphagnum moss because I wasn't sure which root would be better for these plants. But yeah, I mean, they're doing great, and I'll just have to pot them up soon. And then down here, we've got my little philodendron squamiferum seedlings. There's like 2 of them together in here. Some of these bottom leaves seem to be declining, but I think that might just be due to the fact that they're old. This guy is really leaning into the other seedling. They both have new leaves coming in, and I don't know how well you can see that, but I've got the little fuzzy petioles. Super cute. Kind of weird the way it's growing, but I'm gonna rotate it actually just to see if it goes the opposite direction to get towards the light. And then right here we've got a couple of my silver swords. So there's this one, and they both put out several new leaves, at least 2 each, I think. Although my cats again managed to knock off the new leaf that was forming on this guy, so he's a little bit behind the other one now. But that all happened when these plants were still on the floor, and I tried to not let the cats in this room, but they just, if I don't let them in a room, they will try super hard to always get into the room. So, okay, and then this is my philodendron fuzzy petiole. And, well, as you can see, it is in water. And if you saw my video, I think it's probably my previous video, I did talk about how this guy was declining since I got it, and I went ahead and investigated, and I was right. Sure enough, the roots were no good, had root rot. So yeah, the roots were just really sad and kind of brittle, and I just knew it. So I've salvaged what I could from it, and it's now in water. So we'll see if he grows more roots. I left some roots that I think were salvageable, but we'll see how they do. They might just keep rotting away. But I actually ended up cutting off the rest of those roots because I think that they all were just rotted, and I just had a false sense of hope. And I also had to cut off the bottom portion of the stump or stem or whatever you want to call it because it was also rotted. So yeah, but the good news is I did notice auxiliary buds and some new little roots forming, so there is hope. Hopefully he'll do fine and survive and regrow roots and be okay. But my battery's about to die, so there might be a time jump in like 3, 2, 1. All right, and we're back. Yeah, it's been a little while. We've got my Hoya obovata. It hasn't changed a whole lot. It doesn't have any new leaves, although I do think that it does have a new growth point just sticking up there. It looks kind of reddish, so I'm excited about that. Cute, just chilling. Right here is just a cane begonia that has seen better days for sure. This pot keeps growing mold and I keep having to wipe it off, so if you have tricks to getting rid of that, that'd be great. I don't know if it's mold or some sort of like weird substance that appears in terracotta in the winter time specifically, because I've never dealt with it before. But yeah, this guy has some crispy tips because when my temperature dropped for a couple weeks in my home, he was not at all happy with that situation. And on top of that, I missed a watering. So between those two things, he just dried out a little bit too much. Although I brought him into this room with the humidifier and grow light, and he seems to be a lot happier. Like he started throwing out a bunch of new leaves when I did that, like here and here. Although one of his new leaves got knocked off, so I'm sad about that, but it's okay. He's very much so surviving right now, but he's definitely kind of been through the ringer with those crispy tips. And then down here, okay, I'm probably most excited for this, my Syngonium albo. She's so beautiful. So let me just give you the lowdown since I got her. She put out this leaf and at the same time lost like one of her oldest leaves that had a lot of white on it as well, which is pretty normal. We kind of exchanged leaves there, but now there's this new leaf that's coming in that is very white. So I'm a little bit concerned about, you know, it will probably die off sooner than the others and crisp up, but I'm crossing my fingers. Very, very beautiful. And then there is another new leaf right here. I'm gonna try to not touch it, but let me get you a better look at it. That looks almost kind of half moon-ish with a little bit of green on the white portion. So I'm quite pleased with how this one's growing so far. So in total, that is 3 new leaves since I got her, 1 leaf lost. So a net of, 2 leaves bigger since I got her. Oh goodness. When even was that? I think that was like back in late September. So it's been a few months, so she's kind of taken her time, but I think that she had to acclimate to my home, and I was kind of moving her around trying to find the best spot for her, but I think that she likes it here with the grow light and the humidifier. And then here's just my Synopsis picticillary Ann, nothing too crazy new. She throws out new leaves occasionally, like right there. And then my Philodendron Brantianum. She has had like 1 leaf that had problems unfurling, but the rest of them so far seem okay. I'm always very nervous about that, although like this one, for example, right here, see how it's getting caught? I think that happens pretty often with brandies. Like the leaves get caught and then they kind of damage themselves, like right here. So I'm expecting like this leaf to come out looking a little bit wonky, but like this leaf right here looks like it'll be good. I did want to show you in my propagation boxes, one in particular I'm most proud of, my Hoya carnosa compacta cutting. There we go. So look, she's got, I don't know how you can see that, but she has 2 leaves coming in right there that are brand new, and her other growth points with the leaves and such are like super ripe, I guess is a good way to call that. Like you can tell that they are coming out. And there's roots. She actually grew roots at the bottom there. But she also has, I don't want to bother her too much, but she has some pretty substantial root growth at the base as well. That's pretty exciting. Then there's just my little green Maranta. I think that he needs to be watered again like within the next day or so, but there's a little new growth there. Definitely the growth on this guy slows down substantially in the winter, although last winter he declined a lot because I had my newborn at that point, and so all of my plants kind of suffered a bit, so he declined a lot, lost a lot of leaves, was super crispy, but then over the spring and summer and fall he just grew back like crazy. This winter it's not nearly as bad and there's still a little bit of growth, but like he definitely slows down a lot, I've noticed, compared to some of my other plants that like have hardly missed a beat. And part of that could be that it is a slightly lower light situation because there's this grow light here, but it's really not reaching him too much. And other than that, it's just this north facing window. This one, as you can see, not happy with me. So here's the deal. This Calathea White Star is one of my plants that suffered from spider mites in the fall. So I treated her, I got rid of them, but I think that the treatment really stressed her out because she lost a lot of leaves on account of the treatment. But of course she was probably also stressed out from the spider mites themselves. So, and then within like a week of knocking out those spider mites, and I could already tell she was stressed out and had a few yellowing leaves, the temperature in my home dropped to, I don't know, like it was pretty consistently in the 50s in my home, which most of my plants survived, but they definitely slowed down. And this one in particular, like within a few days of the temperature dropping, its leaves just started to yellow one by one, and I ended up just cutting most of them off because they were just like 100% yellow. So these were the leaves that were kind of left, and as you can see, there is a lot of yellowing still. I've checked her for pests and whatnot. She doesn't have anything. She got really stressed out and was a bit of a drama queen about it. Fingers crossed she will come back. And yeah, I mean the bed is not made right now because I had to strip it. My daughter threw up all over the bed this morning. So that's great. But at least Alphonse is enjoying it. You know, the fact that the blanket's on the floor. Made a little nest for himself. Also, keep the pajama pants. Woo. Over here, this man is absolutely thriving. So you can see there's spider mite damage from when he had spider mites, both before I owned him and also like this past fall. But these newest leaves are absolutely flawless and they're so soft. They like feel velvety to the touch, and they're like so dark and beautiful and luscious. And he's throwing out so many leaves. So there's this new leaf. This one just came out, and I don't know what happened to the tip of the leaf while it was in its little Tootsie Roll formation. It like got the tip knocked off at some point. But so up here we got another one there and there, and this one's coming in, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could not be more proud of this beauty right here, just still thriving in the middle of winter, and we've got some snow on the ground and everything. So yeah, he loves this east facing window, and the humidity is just the ambient humidity. There's no extra humidity for this guy. He's just happy. All right, I'm gonna go downstairs now, and it's gonna be potentially a little bit messy and noisy because my daughter's playing downstairs, but you know, that's life. So let's head downstairs. So right here is one of my favorite little plant setups in my home, just on my piano. And my husband got me a grow light for Christmas, just a grow light setup for here. Because previously, if you watch my house tour video, I had like a desk lamp situation, a grow light, but you know, particularly for the winter time, I really need a grow light in this corner just because it gets so dark in the winter. But yeah, we can just go down the line. There's a lot of fun stuff happening here. Right here is just my rattlesnake calathea, and it doesn't look like a whole lot's going on other than, I will say, there is, I think, oh yeah, right here. I don't know if you can get a good look at that, but there's a little bit, a little growth point coming up right there. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And then over here, all three of these guys are just throwing out new leaves all over the place. Got some new leaves here, there, and there. They're all just unfurling very slowly, but they are. Got lovely Monstera Adansonii. This one just started exploding a lot more with growth recently, which is funny because it's winter, but I mean, we've got the grow light and the humidifier, so there's not much else that it would want. I also have continued to feed my plants this winter because they're still growing. And then, okay, I'm very excited about this one. Don't mind the fungus gnat. I have one of those like catchy fungus gnat traps because my cats always rip out those yellow fungus gnat traps. One of them in particular, one of my cats just always rips out the fungus gnat traps and plays with them, so those don't work for me. I've also got mosquito bits in the soil, so, you know, I'm taking steps to do that, but I have so much organic matter in my soil that they're very attracted to it. But anyway, so, you know, old crispy tips from when I first got her and didn't know what I was doing, but look, okay, so there's, let's see if I can get a better look. So there's a new leaf, like a very tiny brand new leaf coming in right there. And then here is a new leaf. And, oh, there's another new leaf right there. Let's see if you can see that better. It's kind of hard to tell with all these shadows and the grow light right above me, but I promise there's like 3 new leaves coming in right now. Actually 4. So there's another one right there on that edge. So there's like, it's spitting out 4 new leaves right now, which I'm delighted about. The Calathea or Gapursa, I don't know. I mean, I think that they're all pretty much reclassified to Gapursa, but everyone knows them as Calathea. So Calathea macrayana or Gapursa macrayana, depending on, you know, who you ask, how much care. But yeah, okay. All right, this guy I am very, very excited about. Here, let me shift this guy away. This is my Begonia maculata whitey, and this it threw out a new leaf that I showed you, but since then it has this new leaf that's coming out right now. Absolutely beautiful. And then it's got this new leaf right there and another new leaf up here. Very, very excited about this gal. She has a lot of new growth happening. And there was another leaf too that I accidentally knocked off like an idiot, but it's okay, you live and you learn. But yeah, she's absolutely beautiful, and she has not skipped a beat since I moved her here and since winter began. And then here is my Gapursa Zabrina. She also had a fight with spider mites, and honestly, like, she's still beautiful, but you can tell she's damaged. And I think that that is largely actually due to the treatment more so than the spider mites themselves. I really need to like wipe her leaves down because when Clay put up the grow light, a lot of like the ceiling drywall stuff came pouring down, so I need to clean the leaves. But yeah, so this one's doing well. I'll pull her out. Oh, I need to give her a water. But she's got 2 new like little growth spikes right there. You see that? 2 growth points, 2 leaves just poking out of the soil. So I'm very excited about that because she kind of slowed down after the spider mites, and I was a little bit worried about her. This guy, the Stromanthe Triostart, is definitely going to need a repot by spring because he's busting it out of this little pot of his, this 4-inch pot. But yeah, he's also got lots of new growth points coming in. There are other ones as well, but that's the easiest one for you to see. So you'll have to take my word for it. And my Calathea ornata. So this one has been through the most because it was my first Calathea that I got. And, oof, let's not break that. It was my first Calathea, and let's just say he hated me for a long time until I figured out what he needed, and then he still hated me, but he's warming up. So during my houseplant tour, I was super excited because this leaf was coming in, and it was his first new leaf in like a whole year. But unfortunately, my heater went out like in the middle of this new leaf coming in, and so that really stressed the leaf out, and the corners of it came out translucent. That's the only reason that I can think of for that happening, because the other conditions were fine. He had a grow light, he had the humidifier, I was watering with distilled water consistently, you know, and I trimmed off the weirdness that was there because it was just crisping up and looking awful. But as of the last few days, there's a new leaf. So I'm excited about that because I was nervous that he was not gonna like me again, but I have another chance right on the horizon in the middle of winter. So I'm hoping that honestly, like as spring rolls in and summer, he'll be able to make a comeback and do really well. And the lighting is horrible over here, but I've got just my philodendron Brazil. He's gonna need to be repotted eventually, and I'm thinking I'll like trade spots with the Cebu Blue maybe, because the philodendron Brazil is in a grow pot that's inside this pot that stays on the wall, if that makes sense. Yeah, so the Cebu Blue I might switch to be here instead, but I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do yet. Sometimes you just have to shuffle plants around as they grow. But I've also considered giving the Cebu Blue significantly more light, because as it is, I would say in the summertime, or really any season that's not winter, it's a pretty fine lighting situation. But when it's wintertime, it just gets too dark, and this corner just doesn't get quite as much light as I would like. My Tradescantia Nanook is doing fine, although again, I think that I'm gonna need to give her more light. Here on the wall, these are both doing fine. And over here, I mean, these plants are just great. This Micans is thriving. I did move it closer to the window so to get more light during the winter. I mean, I love the more sun-stressed look, so if you can hang on to that, that's all the better. So these guys are all doing great. Very happy with them. Over here, I've got these Hoyas just right in the window, and I'll probably take them down and look at them one by one. I did say earlier, a few videos ago, that my Hoya Australis Lisa was not doing well, so I took some cuttings off of it, and I'm glad that I did because it has continued to decline. And frankly, I think that it might have root rot, and I say this largely because I got this plant and a Hoya carnosa compacta at the same time. They're the same size from the same nursery. They're both on sale for like $5 each, which was a really good deal, but my Hoya carnosa compacta also started to decline, and I took a look at the roots and it was root rot. So, I mean, this was from the same nursery, same exact time, and so maybe it also, I mean, the soil mixture that it was originally in, I did repot this one sooner than I did the carnosa compacta, but it may have been too late, and the roots are just unhappy. So the leaves have continued to shrivel and die off like this. So I don't really know what to do. Oh well, I don't really know what to do about it, other than maybe I'll get a new one someday. I also have the propagations. Maybe it'll come back, grow back eventually. I'm just gonna let it run its course and see what happens if I just let it stay in the pot. All right, and this Hoya carnosa Crimson Queen is so beautiful, and she is putting off new growth for me for the first time. So you can see that little growth point, those leaves are pretty ripe, but then over here, these are some fresh leaves that are coming in, and there's more where that comes from right there. All right, come on, focus for me, baby. There we go. So these are all fresh leaves, and there's even like a little pink tint to them. So I'm very excited to see where she goes and how she does. Okay, and then this is the Hoya that I'm most excited about, my Hoya Crimson Princess, because she's putting out a lot of growth. So let me show you right here. Do you see that? Do you see that? Oh my goodness. That is like pink. And I'm so happy with that variegation. So these are 2 new leaves, and then there's another one coming right there. And then up here, yeah, there's also new leaves, another little growth point coming in. So yeah, I'm very excited. There's technically 2 little plants in here, but yeah, she's so pretty. So pretty. And again, she didn't really do anything for me for like, maybe 5 or 6 months, because I think I've had her for about that long. And now she's finally doing something, so that's really exciting. Right here is one of my other Monstera Adansonii. This guy is doing just great. I have him just kind of vining beneath the window for now. Yeah, I chopped him right here like maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's already shot off a new growth point, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, he's doing great. I added in a couple of propagations back into the pot, so we'll see if they take. But yeah, I'm excited about him. And there's my little Korok friend. I got a few of them for Christmas, so they're hanging here for now. All right, well, I could talk about a few more plants probably, but frankly, I'm not really feeling super well. So I think I'm gonna just end it there. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, you know, all that stuff. So I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye!